All right, welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of Bears Film Room. My name is Dave, cover the Bears for SM. Joined by my good friend, co-host, Chicago Bears content creator and writer for SM, Ficky. We have day one. Everyone here, everyone is at Hallis Hall. All the coaches, all the players. Obviously, we have some news in regards to Jaylen Johnson, a couple other players that are actually coming back, like Colston Loveland. Looks like Luther Burden's 100%. So a lot to get to in regards to just day one, essentially. But before we hop into everything, we do have a recurring guest. DWC is going to be on the pod here in just a couple minutes. He's going to kind of go through just some of the news today. Obviously, if you're on Bears Twitter, Instagram, whatever it might be, today was a big day as far as just news. And it felt like football was back just because everything on the timeline was Bears football, which is kind of nice. So, Fick, before we hop into all this, how are you doing, man? How does it feel? Does it feel like football is truly, truly back now?
Yes and no, because yes, it's like kicking off school, but it's like you haven't taken your first class yet. That's what it feels like, right? You're excited. You bought the new clothes. You're showing up. You know what I mean? Trying to look good on your first day, but we haven't seen them in pads. We haven't seen any clips of Caleb throwing a dart, or a pick made here. So you haven't gotten like the full experience yet where you're finally yes, or you haven't even gotten to a game. Now, I think the Hall of Fame game's this Friday, right? Or is it next Friday? It's
next
July
Friday.
30th. Yeah,
very end.
So once that kicks off, then I'm going to feel a little bit better because you'll actually have like primetime television. And I don't really care who's playing or if the starters are in, which they won't be. But I think at that point, I'm going to be like, all right. Like I've dipped my feet in the pool a little bit. We've gotten wet. We know how this feels. And now football's truly back. But I'm not complaining. Like, we've been waiting so long for this, but how do you feel? Are you in the same boat or are you kind of all in?
No, it feels like football's back because I think the timeline is it's going by so fast, trying to catch everything, right? We're watching the pressers. We're, just kind of analyzing every little thing that we can because we haven't heard from these guys in a while, especially Poles, Johnson, Caleb, Grady Jarrett was really fun to listen to. And we'll have some clips to share later on. But I feel like football's in the full swing. Tomorrow is really going to be where it's going to
I agree.
It's going to hit and it's going to feel really good because that's where I think we'll get a few clips. Obviously it's not open to the fans or anything like that, but we do have the first practice 8:30 a.m. tomorrow morning at Hallis Hall. So that will be really, really fun to kind of really get things cooking.
You know what though? I actually think before the Hall of Fame game, whenever the first open practices for the public, which I think is that Thursday? Or is that that's Thursday, isn't it?
This Thursday?
Well, I think so. I think it's this Thursday. I think it's like the 25th or something like that. Whatever day that is, we're going to start to see clips online, even though you're not supposed to record there. But I think that will also make it feel more like football because we'll actually get to see plays. You know what I mean?
So Friday is the first public practice on the 25th.
There we go. So Friday will feel
Friday and Saturday
more like football. So I'm excited for that. Not too long away.
Me too. We have DWC here. Let's go ahead and bring him in if you don't mind, Fick.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's up, guys? What's going on? It's been a while,
what's up, man.
How have you guys been?
It's been a little bit.
Yeah. Excited to be back on.
Yeah, I saw that you just posted a video. For you, it's been, I don't know, is that your longest hiatus?
It has been, yeah, since I joined.
Wow.
I've been out for like the entire summer. I've been traveling across America. I went to Europe too for a little bit. So
oh, look at you. That's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
dude,
What's your favorite place that you went?
In Europe, probably Istanbul, Turkey. I went there for 4 nights. It was insane time. Food was really good. People were really nice. It was probably the best place I've been to, honestly, traveling. So that was a fun time. I'm trying to get in my vacations before bear season starts because it's going to be a busy season this year.
Yep. Unfortunately, there's no vacations from here on till about hopefully February. Yeah, hopefully not like November, like most seasons. let's get in at least till the winter time.
In December. Like I want a divisional race, wild card race. That's what I want to be involved in as far as just the football aspect of all. But yeah, I saw DWC. I knew you were taking some time off and everything. I was like, good for him. Like I think a lot of people need to kind of unplug, especially during that time, because you just go once. Like today really marks, in my opinion, just the start because it's the news cycle is like officially every day there's going to be something. Whether it's just a camp battle between fringe roster player or even just obviously the daily Caleb Williams updates that we're going to get when he's out there practicing. But
Dave, quick question before we go on. Is this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Am I wrong for you? You made a good point. Like you want to be sweating in December, but am I almost like deprived of just like joy so much that I just want to see the in the hunt graphic like in December and be like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like that's always like our barometer is how long can we stay in the hunt, right? And the NFL each year has made it easier and easier because more teams are making the playoffs. So I'm just like, can I not give up on the season by Thanksgiving? Like, can I take that? I know I want more, but I'm just like deep down, I'm like a beggar. I'll take anything at this point, you know?
So typically, and I'll let DWC go real quick after this. I'll keep it short. I'm always want to be in the hunt, but honestly, that graphic has almost gotten a little ridiculous because I think the Bears were on it at some point last year, and it's like, are you serious? Like we were like,
not really
had 4-5 wins, and it kind of, if they're going to go back to like where they cut it off, where it's like, I know you have a chance of like a percentage chance of making it, but I think they need to like do away with that. Otherwise, the in the hunt graphic don't feel the same as it was in years past. That's just my opinion. DWC.
Well, just like Ficky, like I like to see the Bears on that graphic because it gives you that little bit of hope that like shit, there may be a chance you make it in. And like 2023, we were on that graphic until the very last week, I believe. Like we got eliminated the second to last week of that season, or maybe the last week actually against the Packers.
Yeah.
Or we lost the game prior. So, or what am I forgot.
No, that's right. That's right. We lost the game prior.
Oh, we did. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like regardless, like you like to see your team on that graphic, but like Dave said, it doesn't really mean that much honestly anymore because you have an extra playoff team. Like almost every team is in the hunt until the last 2 weeks. So you want to see the Bears fighting for the division or like, you know, higher seeds in the number 7 seed, but it's always cool to see the Bears on there even after a bad season because you're like, you know, trying to be optimistic.
Right. Yeah, I know it's a balance of like this team should be much better, so I'm expecting more, but also weighing in 32 plus years of just Chicago football historical data that I have, you know, that like, okay, you know, pump the brakes a little bit. But yeah, if we're in the hunt, that's a good start. If we're not, that's a whole different discussion. This team will probably never, ever be good in our lifetime. But
I make sure I'm not muted here. I agree. I think realistically, and I think this kind of segues because I wanted to kind of start backwards. I know Caleb went last today as far as the presser, but his was rather interesting because he talked about goals, and we're talking about making the playoffs, right, and or being in the hunt graphic. You know, is that good enough for Bears fans? For him, I wanted to go through some of his goals because and I know him and Caleb were him and Ben Johnson were almost in sync in regards to what those goals were, and we'll play the clip here, but he said he wants to be the first 4,000-yard passer in franchise history this season, 70% completion percentage, and Ben Johnson echoed that before him as well, said that throughout camp and also the season, he wants to be above 70%, which I find I'm not even going to give my context or how I feel on that, but I want to get to you guys. And then, of course, going down, scoring points, and above all else, winning games. So I wanted to ask you this, DWC. We've talked about it last year because I think what a lot of us thought there was a possibility with Caleb and the prospect that he could even do it in year one. Of course, everything that transpired, it did not happen. He still had a good year statistically, I would say. Do you think, obviously, those are good goals, but how do you feel about the 70% completion percentage? And then, of course, the 4K, do you think he gets it this year?
Yeah, the 70% I think is kind of lofty, to be honest. Like I'm not very worried about completion percentage, if I'm being honest, because there's a lot of top quarterbacks that don't have maybe like the 70% completion percentage. You know, guys like Mahomes, like I'm not even sure if Mahomes had 70% last year. I actually looked this up because Ben Johnson said that, and there's only like 5 quarterbacks that had a 70% percentage last year. One of them was Jared Goff in Ben Johnson's scheme. So maybe Caleb could do it, but at the same time, like I want him to be risk taking a little bit more than he did last year. Like last year, he played a little bit safe too often. Took some sacks where maybe he should have thrown the ball down the field. So like, I don't want Caleb to be hyper coached up into like not taking any risks, but at the same time, you know, completing more of your passes is also a good thing. We saw Caleb have some inaccuracies down the field last year. Also, just like in the middle of the field, sometimes he wasn't on the money for various reasons. So I think it's a good goal to like work towards, but it's also not something where if he doesn't get it, like it's a failure of a season. Like if he's at like 68% or something like that, like I'm sure he's going to be just fine. And for the 4K yards though, like that is a goal that I feel like has to be accomplished at some point. I mean, we've been saying this for so long. Like, when is the first Bears 4K yard passer going to happen? And this is the best year that we have to do it. I mean, we have so many weapons. We got Ben Johnson, who's coming off really good seasons calling plays. We have a pretty good offensive line right now, in my opinion. Like, I think the Bears on paper have top 13, top 12 offensive line with the additions we made. So there's just not too many excuses anymore to not get to that 4K yard mark. I mean, it's only what is like 212 yards per game. Right? It's like, if you go on a per game basis, it's not even that hard to accomplish. Now, like, obviously we haven't done it yet, so like we can't say shit, but I just really feel like we have to at least get to that 4K yard mark, more so than the 70%.
So it's,
before you,
sorry, as I say, calculates 235 yards you have to get with a 17 game sample set. So yeah,
and that should be easy in today's NFL. That should be easy.
Should be. It should have been easy last year. But yeah, it should be. It should be.
No, I was going to say, if he stays healthy, there's no reason he shouldn't. And if he doesn't, I don't know if he's the guy. That's just me being honest, especially in 2025. The NFL is just so different than it was even 20 years ago, 10 years ago. So I think with Ben Johnson, I know it's a new offense, but the weapons this guy has, in his tool belt. I know last year we thought that was the case, but truly you have so many weapons. Colston Levin, Luther Burden is he's getting talked about, but like, he could realistically get you 500, 600, even 700 yards like Rome last year, if all things go well. And so I'm pretty stoked. Ficky, did you comment on like the 70% thing? Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and give my thoughts. I'm curious.
Before I do that, I do want to ask you though, because you brought up kind of an interesting hypothetical. You said if he doesn't get 4,000 yards, like he may not be the guy, and that's a fair statement. Question though, if he has like a Bo, no, I think that's fair, right? But if he has a Bo Nix type season, where it's like Bo Nix almost had 30 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, but he only had 3,700 yards, right? So what happens if, let's just play the opposite, because his goal is 4,000 yards. Let's say Caleb, hypothetically, gets 35, 36 touchdowns, pretty good touchdown to interception ratio, 3,800 yards. How do you feel about that?
How many touchdowns? 30 something?
Let's say like 35, like a good number. Like 35 is pretty decent. Would you be upset more about that? Let's say 35 and 12. Let's do something like that. 35 and 13.
12. I don't know how you could be upset with that. 3,800 yards. I bet he gets you another 300 to 500 on the ground at least, in my opinion. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't have said disappointment.
No. I just actually was thinking about it
because you're right. I would expect him because of the passer he can be and that we all believe he can be. And with Ben Johnson and what his offense should look like, I just feel like 4,000 is like benchmark.
Yeah,
like,
I agree. He should be hitting
for a modern quarterback.
100%. Like, I'm going to be in the same boat. Yeah. If you're not hitting 4,000, I'm going to feel some sort of way. That's the only scenario where I'm like, okay, whatever. You didn't do that, but you scored 35 touchdowns, which touchdowns means points, which means winning. Like, touchdowns kind of matter more than yards in a way when it comes to like the winning standpoint. But yeah, I'm going to be in that same exact boat with you. Like, really, this is another year and we still couldn't hit it. And then now we have to hear about it again for a whole nother season that we're the only team that hasn't done such.
Yeah,
so.
You put up 3,800 yards, 37 touchdowns, though. That's something I don't think a Bears quarterback's done ever.
The record's what's the record in a year is 29. Eric Kramer, 1998 or 2003, something like that. I can't remember. Yeah, it's not great.
Hey, man.
It's not great.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I just had to throw the hypothetical out there. And then I'll answer quickly for the for the 70% completion.
Okay.
DWC was perfectly right. 5 quarterbacks last year had above 70. Tua was 1, Jared Goff was 2, Baker, Joe, and then Joe Burrow and Geno Smith. So eclipsing 70 is not like the norm. The average is probably sitting around like 68. So do I think he's going to eclipse 70? No. People would say Jared Goff did it last year. You're right. But if you look at Jared Goff in his 3 seasons under Ben Johnson, 65, 67, and then 70. I think it was actually 67 the first year, 65 the second year, 72 this year. So even in the 3 years with Ben Johnson, his highest was 72, and that just happened. So to expect that you're going to hit 70, that is a lofty goal, like DWC said, but I'm happy that is his goal.
Dude.
But I'm not expecting him to hit that. That is pretty.
I think, yeah, DWC said it right. Lofty was, when I first heard that, I was like, Wait, am I crazy or is that crazy? Is that high? Like that's some crazy expectation. Then Caleb, of course, echoed it here, which we'll play in just a moment. But I think I'm in your guys' boat. Like for me, it's like, what was it? 63, 62% last year. So me, anywhere between 66 to like 68 would be amazing. 70%, this guy, I mean, he's probably going to be in the MVP conversation just like Goff was, because that is a high clip. And then because you factor in what, batted balls, tip balls, drops. I just feel like that's impressive. And I think last year, Jared Goff went a whole game where he didn't even have an incompletion. So I just think that it would be crazy. But I love that that's what they're kind of, because the ball on the ground has been such an issue, especially with Justin Fields in that era. Even last year during camp, not as notable in regards to the former quarterback, but Caleb, it's just those 7-on-7s, 11-11s. The ball should not be on the ground whatsoever, especially in practice. So that's going to be really interesting to watch. What's up, Vic?
One last thing. I looked up to see the correlation between 70%, like hitting 70% mark for completion rate and like what it meant for your total yards. Literally all 5 of those quarterbacks that I mentioned, the top 5, other than Tua, because Tua got injured, so we'll take him out. But all the other 4 eclipsed 4,000 yards easily. So honestly, that should be his goal, is the 70%, because if you hit that, it's basically guaranteed that you did eclipse 4,000 yards. So 2 birds in 1 stone. So it'd be interesting to see which one of those. I mean, if he only hits 4,000 or if he hits 70, we're feeling good about that.
So, no, I agree. Let's go and play this clip, and then we'll move on to a really fun part of the competition, because that's all camp is about, is competitiveness and obviously competing for spots.
And that's, being the first 4,000-yard passer in Bears history. That's a goal of mine. 70% completion, that helps the team. Keeps us on the field, puts us in better positions. And then other than that, just trying to go down and, score the most points that we can with these drives that we have. So, that's kind of my self goal. And obviously other than that, you got to go win. That's success for me. That's success for the team. And, that's all we wish for and all I wish for.
I liked how he ended it, because at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. Because even last year he had decent stats, but it's like, that didn't feel, it felt like a total loss, at least, or a waste of a season, because you can't even be happy about those stats because of how chaotic and disheartening really the season was last year. So I want to move forward to another topic here with DWC, because it was really, really early on. Ben Johnson was asked about kind of Braxton Jones and what that means as far as, because he should be back on the field. Essentially was asked, hey, with his experience, is he kind of penciled in as the starter, or what does that look like heading into camp? And I'm paraphrasing. We're going to get to the full comment here from Ben Johnson. But then, of course, his answer really left the door wide open. So I'm going to play this clip, and then DWC, I kind of want to hear your thoughts on Ozzie. We haven't had you on. I know you've been, like I said, relaxing most of the off season, but I know you're high on Ozzie. But I want to, after we listen to this clip here, I want your thoughts on that competition, because I feel like that's going to be one that Bears fans especially are going to be kind of paying attention to. So here's Ben Johnson on the left tackle competition.
Said that Braxton's going to start, like he'll be on a ramp up period to get up to speed. But when you look at the benchmarks you're going to set to evaluate that left tackle position, does he naturally have a leg up just because he's been the starter for 3 years, or do you view all 3 of them as?
Yeah, I would like to think his experience will help him, but we're coming in with blank slates right now. And so they're just because a guy's played and another guy hasn't in this league, we're going to let the competition play out, and we'll see where it goes.
There we go. DWC, immediate thoughts when I'm sure you've seen this clip, or obviously you just saw it now. What are your thoughts on this? And of course, Ozzie versus Braxton.
Well, first of all, I love that answer by Ben Johnson, the fact that the slate is clean everywhere, because that's how it should be at every spot, honestly. I mean, besides quarterback, nobody's going to overtake Caleb right now. But the fact that he's leaving it open to competition just like is going to push everybody. It's going to push Braxton to perform better in practice in the games, because he has to fight out other players now for his job. Like, he's not guaranteed the job just because he's been the starting tackle for 3 years. And as far as like Ozzie versus Braxton Jones, there's also Kiran Amagaji there, so we can't forget about him. But I think after like last year's bad rookie season, some Bears fans have kind of given up hope on him, which may be a little bit too early though, right? Because he was a raw prospect coming out of college. He dealt with injuries last year. So I'm not giving up completely on Kieran, but in a lot of Bears fans' eyes, it is Ozzie versus Braxton Jones. And if I had to put money on it, for sure, like Braxton Jones, I would bet money on him because he's already started 3 years. He's been at least an average tackle for the Bears. And being average in the NFL at offensive tackle is really difficult, like especially coming out of the 5th round. Like you don't find those guys in the 5th round most years. So I don't want Bears fans to take anything away from Braxton Jones. Like, yes, we want him to be elite. We would like to have a top 10, top 5 left tackle. But if Braxton can be at least average this year, the Bears could have a pretty solid offensive line. So there's no way I'm going to predict Ozzie to overtake him. I mean, maybe we see different things in camp where Ozzie just wows everybody. And according to all the reports, like he is a really pro-ready tackle coming out of college. Like he's had decent amount of starts. Fundamentals are sound. Like there's a lot to like in him for sure, but there's no chance I'm going to be picking a rookie to start week 1 because that's honestly very scary to me. It's much more scarier than starting Braxton Jones out there because at least you know what Braxton's floor is, and that's at least going to be, you know, an okay left tackle. So that's basically my thoughts. But you know, obviously I'm hoping for Ozzie to take over because long term that would be the ideal scenario. We could save money on Braxton in the offseason. We could, you know, let him go, and hopefully Ozzie has a higher, you know, ceiling than Braxton Jones does. I think he does. So we'll see what happens. But right now I'm thinking Braxton's going to win that job.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I've been preaching. I think, look, the hype behind Ozzie is real. I think he can give a good fighting chance. But I think what's beneficial for the team is having the guy who started for 3 seasons. Okay, he's graded out as a top 20 tackle all 3. Basically like all 3 years, at least top 32, right? So he's decent enough to where like he would start. If Braxton Jones got cut from the Bears right now, there would be at least 10 phone calls, you know, 10 teams calling saying, we need you. Another thing you talked about, DWC, you said that like, you know, average is hard to come by. Yes, offensive lineman is probably the scarcest position in the NFL. Like out of quarterback, I'd probably say number 1, right? That's very hard to get right. It's very difficult though. But behind quarterback, offensive lineman. And that's why we saw the effect of it this offseason. The offensive linemen don't go in free agency anymore. Not the good ones. All the good ones get locked up immediately, or you have to, if they're on an expiring deal or something, you have to trade for them, right? So, and you're seeing that a lot just overall with the free agency. But I say all that to be like, Ozzie would have to come in there, and Dave, this is like your point, which I feel is fair. If Ozzie wins it, then Ozzie is like legit. He is legit, right? Because that means you beat out like a decent guy. But he has to really like shine. And going into week 1 with, I guess this is the BTSD essay, the Bears version of PTSD, is that going into week 1 with your blind side being a rookie left tackle, I don't care how good he is, there's going to be a little bit of concerns with that because let's be real, it's still his first game in the NFL ever. There's going to be mistakes made, things like that can happen. And with your left tackle, blind side, bad play, we saw it even when Braxton Jones make bad plays, your quarterback, especially right-handed quarterback, can get killed. So I say all of that to then sum it up in agreement with DWC, like he's good enough. Now, if you decide to move on for him so you don't have to pay for him in the contract year and Ozzie's ready next year, fantastic. But I think you've set it up in a good way where you don't have to force the hand to give it to Ozzie. But if Ozzie wins it, then I'm not going to be like, oh, he's not good, right? So
I think with Ozzie, it's the most interesting thing for me is because I agree with what you all said in regards to Braxton Jones having that experience, but Ben Johnson and this team, they obviously drafted Ozzie pretty high, 2nd rounder. There's that pedigree there. I think the fact that Ben Johnson, obviously you've seen his influence already with the additions to the O-line, right? You got a center, Drew Dahlman, Joe Thuney, Jonah Jackson, Ozzie. For me, I think that it's hard not to, because you didn't pick. It's like, when when a new coach has, is handed a new quarterback, similar to like Matt Eberflus and Justin Fields. It's almost that way where it's like you're going to lean towards your guy that you had a conviction for, and obviously spent very, very high draft capital on. And so for me, I think Ozzie coming in here, and he's already been getting the reps. And Braxton Jones, I don't know when he's going to be out there. I think the timeline for him is similar to Loveland, where they're going to ramp him up. But for me, while they're ramping Braxton Jones up, Ozzie's going to be getting more and more reps. And of course, no pads, so you limited, right? But a couple weeks from now, when we have that first joint practice, that's where I think it's going to be a true test to be like, okay, where is this guy at? He passes that. There's another joint practice. So for me, there's going to be certain tests here. And if Ozzie passes them with flying colors, I mean, and even if he does the same as Braxton, I think they're going to lean towards Ozzie, in my opinion, because of that connection. And of course, you're going to have to pay Braxton Jones. So at the end of the day, the best case scenario is Ozzie being the guy starting next year because you save so much money. And of course, Braxton Jones, you said being average, for me being average as far as like a left tackle, you're going to get paid big time money, or at least a decent amount of money, even if you're average. So for me, I'm actually leaning towards Ozzie winning this one outright, because I think he's, first of all, super talented, ginormous human being, but he's also really, really quick, like on his feet. So I cannot wait. That's probably like my favorite competition to probably look forward to. But I kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts there.
I will say this, though. What's beneficial is that Ozzie is going to get these reps, because if Braxton was back and it was a true three-way battle, that means you'd have to split reps even more. So I think it's beneficial no matter what, whether he wins the position or not, that Braxton is out. And that's going to give them more tape, because they tape practices and things like that. They're going to have more data points, which is, I think, personally going to help inform them make the best decision. Not that I ever wish that players get hurt and other people get reps. This is a favorable situation for Ozzie for sure.
And Karan Amagaji is not winning that battle. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
However,
I don't think there's a chance.
I would love to see him be a good depth piece, right?
Sure.
I think the biggest thing for him is, can he step in and not look like he did last year, where it was deer in headlights? And I think it's on the coaching staff. He just wasn't ready. He was always going to be kind of a project. But even then, it was alarming as far as like how unprepared he was. But when you kind of hear all the stories about the coaching staff last year, it's not hard to believe in regards to how maybe they were prepping him, or then maybe the lack thereof. So I cannot wait. DWC, are you going to any? You have a ticket or two, right? You actually won the lottery this year?
Yeah, I did. Finally, I got tickets to next Tuesday. So exactly a week from now, I'll be there.
Nice.
Yeah. Because I think first. All right, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, what day is that? That the first
Tuesday?
week of August? Or next Tuesday?
29th, I think.
Oh, you got basically the first week. Oh, that's fire.
Yeah, that might be the first padded one. Because I think the first padded one is like 3-4 practices in. So hoping to see some good action there.
It'll be fun. I want to, I guess, move on to something a little bit more somber here. And we did a confidence. So last pod, we did like a confidence meter for all the position groups, 1 through 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. And our cornerback position group, it was really, really high. And that's because of Jaylen and Kyler, and of course, even Tyreek Stevenson. But I wanted to get your confidence on this group, knowing now that Jaylen Johnson is dealing with a leg injury, which we don't have much more information than that. And so for me, I wanted your thoughts on that room 1 through 10, and also I wanted your thoughts on the injury. Like, what do you think? You think it's perhaps longer term? The reason I'm a little concerned is there was just no details. It happened outside of practice. I guess he was training outside of Hallis Hall, and so that's why he's on that non-football injury list. But for me, he said it could be, the timeline's looking at a few weeks, and that's it. That's all we got. And of course, when it comes to Bears injuries, I always get a little bit nervous. But DWC, I want your confidence meter 1 through 10 on that cornerback room. And then, of course, when you hear these news or the news on Jaylen, what was your initial reaction in regards to that?
Yeah, I'd say an 8 out of 10 probably right now, because I'm a big believer in Jaylen Johnson. He's the #1 corner in this league. Like, there's no worry about him besides the injury that you just mentioned. Like, he's going to be really good out there no matter what. So Jaylen's a star. Kyler Gordon's a star in the making too. He just got paid a lot of money. He's one of the top nickel cornerbacks in all of football. He's making big time plays out there every single week. Really good against the run, really good tacklers. So like those two for sure are like studs in my opinion. And then Tyreek Stevenson, when you get to him, like we saw what happened last year with the Hail Mary. His whole season kind of spiraled downwards after that moment. But I think that having a new coach, you know, in Dennis Allen to hopefully coach him a little bit tougher, be, you know, more tough on him, like discipline him a little bit more, like maybe that'll be good for him because he had so much talent coming out of college and we saw some of that talent in his rookie year. Like a lot of Bears fans picked him to be a breakout player in 2024, including me, and that was the opposite of what happened. He regressed in basically every single area. But again, I think the Hail Mary incident kind of effed up his mind because when you see yourself getting memed by the whole country, like that can't be good for especially being a cornerback. Like that's one position where confidence is everything. And Tyreek probably lost his confidence last year. So if he gets his confidence back, if he works on, you know, hopefully being more disciplined on the football field, you know, paying more attention, being better in practice, I still think he's a candidate to rebound and hopefully be at least, you know, decent cornerback that can make a lot of plays for you, turn the ball over. But we also got Terrell Smith too, who's, you know, he can at least hold his own out there, right? So very confident in those guys, but I'd say 7 out of 10. And as for the injury update for Jaylen, it doesn't really like do anything much for me. Like obviously it sucks that he's missing all this practice, but he's been in the NFL for multiple years now. Like he doesn't really need this practice as much per se as a rookie does or a young player. So obviously you don't like to see it and you're kind of questioning, is this going to linger further? But according to the updates that we got, I'm not too worried about, you know, a couple weeks him missing practice.
I think I like the idea of him just being out there to challenge those guys too, like Rome, Luther, getting that type. Because I mean, I guarantee you, Luther Burden. I'm not saying Kyler. The defensive group or defensive backs are just really, really good. But even Luther, when he's going out there for these first couple of weeks, it's going to be a little bit of a wake up call when Jaylen does walk on that field and he starts and he gets that, you know, to go against him and Jaylen locks him up, because that's going to happen. So for me to not get that day one kind of sucks, but it's going, at the end of the day, they're going to obviously get the Jaylen Johnson experience in regards to also, and helps Caleb Williams too. Grady Jarrett talked about it in his presser, which was great, about how he's going to talk trash to Caleb. Like he obviously he's going to be a big brother, but he's going to talk. He's going to push him in practice, and he's not going to sugarcoat it. Right? He had a funny quote. It was like, they're like, how are you going to ramp up? And he's like, we're not. It's going to be balls to the wall day one, you know? And it's like, that's the energy and the leadership. The fact that they chose him to speak, I think obviously speaks volumes in regards to how he's already viewed within this team and organization and the locker room. So, but that's the only thing about me as far as Jaylen not being out there to be able to push Rome and of course keep DJ in check would be fun. But now it's next man up with like you said, Terrell and even Kyler Gordon, which I think is going to be exciting in regards to that cornerback room. But Vic, before we move on, your thoughts on the injury overall?
Oh, I'm so happy. Nothing makes me more happy than seeing my star player not be on the field. But
at least it's not contract stuff, right?
Yeah, that's true. Right. That's what people were worried about. I was like,
I thought it was.
At first, I thought it was because
I had people in my mention saying that's a fake injury. Okay. We're going deep in the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
football's back.
Right. Put the tinfoil hat on. Yeah, that's the sign that football's back. Yeah, obviously this isn't great, but it's not the worst thing in the world. If you want someone injured, this would be the time to be injured, right? Like I'd rather you miss now than actual miss games. Of course, he could do both, but I'm just saying if I had to choose, that's the route I would go. But again, DWC made a brilliant point. He's been in the league 6 years. Okay. Yes, it's a new coaching staff, right? New defensive schemes, all that. But he plays a position where it is more 1v1. So I feel like what he has to pick up is going to be a little bit easier than someone who is the linebacker or calling the defensive calls, right? Or defensive linemen who have to work with each other because there's stunts and things like that, right? Or they're in different formations. So I'm hoping the learning curve is not as bad. And plus, it's not like when they're on this NFI list, it's not like they can't communicate with the teams. You don't think Ben Johnson, Dennis Allen sending him information, hey, this is what we did today. This is what we installed this week. Like he's going to be doing a deep dive into the information he can take that doesn't deal with actually physically being on the field. So it's not like he's just a throwaway and you'll never see him. So with all of that, it's not bad, but I will say, Dave, the fear you have of when Bears players get injured, I have that as well, because in the past, at least with the past regime, there's always been kind of like this hush hush, like, oh, it's a couple weeks, and then it's months, i.e. Jaquan Brisker last year. You know what I mean? I know some of that was like
That's
every
weird.
week he kept failing, but there is a little bit of that. I don't have trust. It's a whole new regime, and we'll have to see how it goes, but I haven't had trust with the past 3 years of how they've handled injuries with like the information they've told us. Not that they haven't handled them well in the back, but like, do I trust the words coming out of your mouth when you're telling me like, oh, it's okay, person will be back here, and they're not.
Yeah.
So that's the only concern. Like 3 weeks, they come back and they're like, oh, it's a couple weeks. And it's like, bro, it's been 3 already. So
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad to see Brisker out there though. That's awesome. That is awesome.
Do you guys think that sorry to cut you off, but do you guys think that Eberflus being the coach had anything to do with it, with Brisker not being in there?
the way he
Like,
tweets, it sounds like it. You read his tweets, you would think so.
Once he was fired, he was already tweeting.
Yeah.
Once he was fired, I feel like he was strapped up, like ready to run on the field.
So it's a good question though, DWC. I think there's two things that play a huge factor. One, I think the coaching staff, Eberflus, they wore out their welcome very, very quickly in that, at least last season. The other thing is there wasn't anything to play for. Like, it was like, why go out there? It's not even a contract year. At the same time, they're not making the playoffs. And so I don't think it was worth the risk. And so, but I think it's almost like probably 60% coaching staff. And then I think 40% just the season's really kind of, it's over. So why, if they were in a playoff or wild card race, it's like, I think Brisker maybe would have, I'm not saying lied or something like, but tried everything to get back out there in regards to just being on the field with his guys. So,
well, I think though some of it though is valid. Like the first couple of weeks, he wasn't even allowed to go on a plane. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of like, dog, you should not be out there. Now, was it like your point, Dave? Like November or like December? Like, could he have come back but decided not to?
I'd be curious if he's going to wear the Guardian cap. Like,
he better.
You see it right now. He's wearing it, I think, at camp. But it's like, is he going to wear it during the game? And I hope he does, just because it's going to help.
I will say you saw more last year in game. Like the first year you were allowed to do it, which I think was that last year. Like the first week, there was only like 2 players in week 1 doing it. It was like a tight end on a tight end 2 on the Miami Dolphins and like a fullback. But by week 17, I felt like I was seeing, not on the Bears. I think the Bears had 1 guy, but on like when I turn on a football game, I feel like I saw like 2 or 3 guys. So I'm hoping this year
a quarterback wearing
even
it?
More.
Just be funny.
Yeah.
Tua
needs one. Yeah.
Yeah.
He needs 2 of them. You know what I mean? That man needs to be fully padded, bro. He needs to be an NFL big head.
Big brain, bro.
Look, here's my thing. Here's my thing with it, with the Guardian caps. They can make them. This is the first iteration I think of. This is like model alpha, you know what I mean, or beta version. I think if it becomes more like accepted, they're gonna make it where it doesn't look like you have a do-rag on, you know what I mean, like a nightcap. So
I think you should add an extra layer every concussion, so it's like it just keeps going out. So it's like, and then once you're gonna have to probably retire if you get to 6-7. It's like you're not gonna be out here.
Tua will be out there looking like Galactus, bro. Like, oh my gosh, that is hilarious.
Hey, concussions aren't funny though.
They are not.
Be serious.
Look, we want our players to be on the field, and I want them to also like retire and be able to talk, right? Because that is also like a big deal. So if it was my choice, everybody would wear them. I don't care about the aesthetics. And honestly, if it meant that there's less injuries in general, that's also beneficial to a selfish fan. That means your guys you turn on the TV and all your players are there. You know what I mean? So I would sacrifice the cool aesthetic if it meant that I got to see more talent on the field for a longer duration throughout the season, right? Because that's the biggest thing about the NFL is, well, if a team gets a major injury, well, they're out, right? And it's no fun to watch. We've been there before. It's like, well, I don't want to watch the team now. Caleb got injured twice last year. We went. I mean, we went and watched them, but it wasn't as exciting. No. So if there are things to prevent that, I don't care what it is, add it to the game. That's just my opinion, though.
Well, there could be a rule that after a concussion suffered, you have to wear it for like a period of a year or something. Like I think that would make sense where like you like force it on them. Maybe not force it, but like heavily encourage them to, because, you know, like you guys mentioned, maybe some of the players don't want to do it for the aesthetics. because they probably care about how they look on the football field. But as fans, like just like Ficky said, like I don't care about how they look. Like I want them to be healthy on the football field and hopefully not injuring their brain severely.
I've never worn one, but it's like I don't think it's heavy, right? I don't think it affects like balance. Maybe it takes like a little bit to get used to, but I don't think it's drastic.
I wouldn't think so, right? They have. I mean, the NFL has a pretty heavy science tech team, right? So I'm assuming they weighed some of that into their, pun intended. So I don't think that's the issue. I think it's more of like just people being adaptive to like a new innovative product. And so I'm hoping once it becomes cool, it becomes more of the norm, and then it will look better at that point as well. So we'll have to wait and see, though. I do love your idea, DWC, but me and Dave have been talking about the CBA, I feel like every episode now, so why not bring it up? I wonder if that is a CBA issue, like that is 2031, so we have to wait forever, or is that like a rule they can implement, like how they implement new actual referee rules, right? Because I feel like they've done concussion stuff on a year-to-year basis and not waiting for a new CBA contract to discuss that.
Yeah, I don't think they'd have to wait for it, but I'm honestly not too knowledgeable about like all the details of like CBA and like what goes into that. But I don't think they'd have to wait for it because, like you mentioned, like safety stuff kind of seems to be enforced on a year-by-year basis. Like they changed the kickoff return rules on a year-by-year basis for player safety. Yeah, so
it's a good point. That does make sense.
Yeah, player safety, I think, is just it's not. I don't think there's too much money involved. Well, I guess there is, if you're missing games, but if you get what I'm saying. So, okay, well, I have a couple more questions. Obviously, today was just a lot about pressers. Tomorrow, obviously, first practice 8:30 a.m. DWC, I wanted to kind of gauge these final couple minutes we have you here about just the roster because obviously, like I said, it's been the summer. I want your confidence, like I said, is 1 through 10. I'm going to go through position groups, and I just want to give you an opportunity to give us your genuine answer, unbiased, no Kool-Aid, but truly what you think. And I want to start with the running back room because I feel like that's pretty polarizing in regards to how people view Swift. So 1 through 10, what's your confidence level with that group? I'm sure you know the guys already: Swift, Johnson, of course, Monangai, and then Travis Homer.
I'll do 4 out of 10. I'm not very confident. This is probably the part of the team I don't like at all. I was really banging on the drums for the Bears to draft a running back this year, earlier in the 7th round. I like Monangai, but like I was hoping to get one in round 2, round 3, because I thought that's like the last thing the Bears offense really needs. I'm not really a big DeAndre Swift fan, so at this point, all you can really do is trust Ben Johnson, because if he did not call to draft a running back, they did try to draft a running back, right? Like all the running backs kept on getting taken, so they just kind of got unlucky there. But yeah, with Roshan there, with Monangai here, like maybe there could be some potential with the good offensive line, but I don't think we have any stars in this running back room.
So if he gives you 950 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns, is that good enough for you, you think?
That's fine if we're doing like a running back by committee type of approach, right? If it's like all 3 of them getting carries. If it's only one getting carries, you would hope for like 1,200 rushing yards, because I don't want us to have the worst rushing attack in football again. That's part of the reason why Caleb had so many sacks, because we couldn't run the football.
This is where I wish we had like Montgomery a little bit. I know he's in Detroit, but it's like
that's who Ben Johnson had. So
I know, but we could have had him. He was a Bear. And anyways, but 4 is, I think we're very close to where I think Fick and I were last episode.
Yeah, we weren't super high on it. I will say this though, Ben Johnson. You look at the data. 3rd most rushes in the NFL by team. So Ben Johnson loves to run the ball, runs the ball a lot. And you know what he also loves to do, because he runs the ball a lot? I think his run ratio, actually, let me say this first. I think the run to pass ratio was like 53 to 47. Like that's pretty high. Like a 50-50 split in modern NFL. That's pretty high. And that's why he was top 3. And then also what he was number 1 in is play action. No other team had more play action success than the Detroit Lions last year. And the year before that, they were top 10. So that tells you that he loves to set up the run and he loves to be in play action. And what's interesting as well, though, what we haven't seen from this team is Caleb Williams under center. Now, I'm only going off of data of Ben Johnson with Detroit, right? He may not make this offense like Detroit, but that's all we have. But the Detroit Lions last year were the number 1 team under center snaps, right? A lot of 12 personnel that we talk about. That's how you set up the play action anyways, right, from them. So I say all that to be like, we might see, like, just like with almost every position group, because the coaching staff sucked, last year may have been the floor for what we saw with the running back group. Like, I put Roschon Johnson as a breakout player this year. That doesn't mean he's going for 1,000 yards, nothing crazy. But the guy was pretty good coming out of college. People were like, oh, yeah, you just didn't shine because he was behind Bijan Robinson. You know what I mean? At Texas. So now you kind of have your Sonic and Knuckles like you do in Detroit. Gibbs is obviously better than DeAndre Swift. And I'd say Montgomery, at least now, is better than Roschon Johnson. I don't think that's hard to argue. But you do have that same dynamic of kind of lightning and thunder. So it's interesting to see if he keeps that kind of same wide zone philosophy that he had with Detroit the past 3 years and keeps the rate of rush high like he did in Detroit as well. Maybe that will change our narrative on this running back room. So
I'm high on Swift. I love him.
You are.
I think last year he was, there was points where it was like, we just could not do anything. It was three straight. It would just be Torrey Taylor, right? 3 plays, Torrey Taylor, 3 plays, Torrey Taylor. And then out of nowhere, we would get like a 40-yard touchdown run from Swift. And it was like he was the guy, the spark sometimes, even, or the ability to kind of hit that home run. And of course, there was times where it was frustrating too. But like on that speed option on 4th and goal in Indianapolis, that's not his fault. He's getting the ball there on a speed option, right?
He should have
canceled his fault
in the huddle. That's what he should have.
Yeah, he should have. Yes, but you should have. But
should have been like
we saw Roschon Johnson start to get reps there at the goal line, right? And it worked out. So Swift, there is a lot of things he can do well, but it's like they were trying to fit him into different parts of the offense. And of course, the offensive line, I think, is probably the biggest thing here because Ben Johnson, that he was talking about, he's like, I have no idea what I'm going to run yet because we're not out there yet, right? We don't know exactly if it's going to be what scheme, what they're going to change up. He wants to see these players first and what their strengths are. So I think I love that from Ben, where he's keeping things open. But at the same time with Swift, the biggest thing that's going to help him is the offensive line that was upgraded and is going to hopefully be within the top 10 in the NFL. They should be able to run the ball just because of that, whoever's back there, right? We saw San Francisco, Jordan Mason a year or two ago, right? McCaffrey went down and it was just next man up. And when you have an offensive line that can move people, right? I mean, as long as you have an athlete back there that can, obviously NFL type vision, you're going to be fine. So for me, Swift, I think, is more than enough. Now, Kyle Monungai, I know a lot of people are eyeing him. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Jack said he's going to be starting week 3. He wanted to bet $20. I said, Jack, I'm not taking your money, man.
What about Ian Wheeler? What do you guys think about Ian Wheeler?
I want him to make the team.
He was activated off the it was a pup or not pup?
Yeah, I think it was the pup because they put him on last year, remember? After he got injured during Hard Knocks.
Physically unable to perform. So I don't know. I loved him last year. What about you, DWC?
Oh, I like him too. It's just like these types of stories, they're fun to talk about, but like most times it doesn't turn into anything. So, I'm hopeful it turns into something, but
does he have like that? Because I think you have to be, when you're back, you have to have something that's like great, right? Whether you can just, Montgomery, incredible balance, hard to tackle. He just had multiple things, right? He wasn't fast, but it's like, I think you have to have something. Swift, I think, is a great at obviously like a home run type player, screens, yards off the catch, in my opinion, but he's not great inside the tackles. So it's like, for me, Roschon Johnson, I think he's great within the red zone. I believe he is.
No, he is.
I think he's probably going to be better. But Ian Wheeler, and then Kyle Monungai, I'm just like, I don't know. Wheeler looked good in preseason, but I think he had under 20 snaps because of that injury. So,
well, you made a great point about Jordan Mason 2 seasons ago, right? And how that worked is because you did have a great offensive line in San Francisco, and you also had Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan's obviously a top 3 offensive coordinator, but why he is because of his run game. Kyle Shanahan's known for his run game more than his pass game, in my opinion. So you have someone, again, I think because the NFL, modern NFL, everyone's pass heavy, everyone thinks pass with these guys. Ben Johnson loves running the ball. 3 years of data says that. So can he bring out, not saying you're going to get that from every player, Ian Wheeler, Kyle Monungai, but can he bring out someone where it is like a Jordan Mason, or just looking at Roshan Johnson, who's only had 500 rushing yards in 2 seasons, not that many carries to begin with. Can he make someone like that get up to 700, 800 yards, 6 to 8 touchdowns? You know what I mean? And I think that's actually possible. And that doesn't take away from what Swift does either, because I think that gives you dynamic pieces, just like how you saw in Detroit. Now, I say all that to ask you guys this, and I'll start with you, DWC. Ben Johnson talked about his adaptability, which I believe. So, if you had to do like a 0 to 10 of how close this offense is to what we saw in Detroit, what would you say? 10 being like it's exact. We're seeing a lot of wide zone runs, a lot of play action, under center, a lot of like the slot wide receiver is going to be the number 1 wide receiver with like Amon-Ra St. Brown, and a lot of tight end, a lot of multiple tight ends on the field at all time. That's basically Ben Johnson's MO. And then 0 being like completely opposite. Everything I just said, you're not going to see much of that. We're going to see something completely different. What's your thoughts? Where would you think it would be?
I'm going to say a 6 out of 10, which is like somewhat similar, because like you can't just abandon everything you've ever learned, honestly. Like I know people say like they're going to change the entire offense to fit the personnel, but like only to some extent. Like you can't abandon your whole philosophy and like your entire playbook, what you're comfortable with. So you can change it a little bit. And that's why like I'm doing a 6. Like I think he is going to change it to some extent, because his quarterback, for example, is completely different than Detroit's quarterback. Jared Goff was more of an immobile guy that sits in the pocket, pretty accurate, all areas of the field, but he's not going to run around, right? Like Caleb Williams can. Caleb can make so many plays out of structure, out of the pocket. He's pretty good in the pocket when he gets the protection too. So just from that aspect, it's going to be a little bit different. And the personnel overall is like very different too. Like we don't have the running backs that Detroit had. Like I know Ficky mentioned the run rate, and maybe that's something that could change, because the Lions had Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs was a top 10 drafted or top 12 drafted running back. Like we don't have that type of talent right now, I feel like, in the running back room. So maybe that could change a little bit. But in terms of playmakers, I think our playmakers are somewhat similar to Detroit. Like we maybe even better to some extent, right? Like we have top 10 drafted tight end. We got Cole Kmet too. We got 3 fantastic receivers. Offensive line, we don't have anybody like Penei Sewell, but overall offensive line is pretty good. So in some ways it could be the same, but because of the quarterback being different, because of the running back talent being a little bit different, I think it could differ a little bit.
I think we see Darnell Wright on the move a little more, catching passes too. You saw him a couple months ago, OTAs or whatever it was, one-handed grab. I think it's some good points. I think the overall roster is just, it's nuts.
Can I throw a name out there though that might give us? I'm almost like changing my mind here, because we definitely put him a little bit lower. But Ben Johnson for 2 years had a name that really wasn't that big, and he had a pretty decent year. Jamal Williams.
Look at that.
2022. Yep.
He's old,
right?
though.
People forget it. Well, now he is. He's not even with the Lions. But I'm saying though, he had his best seasons of his career with who? Ben Johnson, right? The year they upset beat the Packers, so the Packers couldn't make it to the playoffs, right? That was like I think it was Ben Johnson's first full year of being an offensive coordinator. That was Jamal Williams going off, right? So there is maybe a little bit of hope that he can take. It's not like Swift's garbage per se, right? Yeah. But you're hoping you can take someone like that and elevate it, and then see Roshan Johnson and be like, oh, let me elevate it. So, but I think 6 is
I say he's old, answer. But he's only 30.
That's like 55 for running backs, unless you're Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
I guess you're on right. Madden, he would have dropped like 15 points by now overall, as if he was 30. So.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's get DWC out of here. What?
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Vic.
You're good. I was going to ask you what you thought about the. I was going to ask you what you thought about the 0 through 10. I was going to ask you the same question.
For the running back.
For how close you think this offense will be to what Ben Johnson ran in Detroit.
Oh, I think it's gonna be different. Just because you said. I think the biggest factor is Caleb. I think there's gonna be similarities, but I think there's gonna be a little bit more like
QB rollouts
on the move. Yeah, like some. I think it's because Caleb's a unique athlete in regards to Goff was a statue. So there's certain things he just couldn't do, which honestly probably made it a little bit more simple. And this might take a little bit in regards to because I think Ben is kind of like not a mad genius, but like he's very creative. And I think he's going to utilize Caleb in ways that I don't even think he wasn't even doing anything last year. I think it's just going to be drastically different. So I would probably say I'm honestly going to go with like a 5.5, 6. I think it's just going to be so different, especially because the weapons too. And he said it himself, he kept the door open where he's like, I don't know what I'm running scheme wise right now. Like we're still figuring that out. And so I appreciate that because it means he's not trying to just, you see you guys come over, different coaches like, okay, no, we're going to do what I'm used to. I don't care what personnel or what my strengths are. It's like, no, we're going to make this work because I'm comfortable with that. Ben's like, no, like he could easily, because they were so successful for 3 straight years, be like, we're going to do this, right? Under center all the time. And he talked about Caleb's going to be under center, but it's like, I think it's going to be a very, it's a lot of moving parts. He's going to adapt a lot to his players. At least that's what I hope. So I would say 5.5, 6 from what we saw from Detroit, because I think there's different types of talent on this roster. And like you said, there are certain things that they don't have, like the running back duo, not even close. No. Sewell, I love Darnell Wright. He's not that.
He's not. I will say this, and I'll be quick. I'm giving it a 7. The Caleb stuff I agree with all you on, but you don't draft 2 tight ends if you're not running. Like, you don't draft Colson Lovin if you're not going to run a lot of 12 personnel. So that aspect of it, I think, is going to be very similar. And Amon-Ra and DJ Moore, very similar for a slot type of player. So I wonder if that is going to be the same. But everything else that you guys mentioned, totally agree with you. But I think maybe those 2 aspects stay. Everything else flipped up. All right, flipped up, not the right word, but changed. But yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. Well, Didi said, we're going to get you out of here. Thank you for spending time with this, man. First of all, go check out his stuff. He's back on YouTube.
Video dropped yesterday. Yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Check it out. It
was like 7 what? 7. It was
it's like 7, top 7 things to watch out for in training camp this year.
That's right. Yeah. If you want to get ready for camp, check out DWC's latest video. He's back on the grind. Of course, follow him on socials. You can see it on the screen here. DWC, thank you, man, for hopping in.
Of course.
Join his Discord as well. I saw you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Giveaway in there. So if you guys want to join, it's on my Twitter account.
If you need tickets. Yes. That's crazy.
Thank you guys so much for having me on.
Yeah, no problem.
Absolutely, DWC. Thank you, man. You have a great week and enjoy camp, all right?
All right, sounds good. See you guys.
Peace.
All right, Fick. I think we've been going a while. Let's go ahead and see if we have any of our shout-outs for our OGs.
Bro, we didn't even do an ad read, so we probably need to do that real quick just so that we give a quick reminder.
I was getting there. Let's do that. Yeah. But if you can, get your OGs in the chat here. We'll star them, and then we'll get them going.
Yeah, so first off, if you watched all the way to the end of this episode, basically, thank you so much. Really do appreciate it. Knowing we guess sometimes we don't get the ad read in, which is totally fine. But as we do all shows, if this is your first time watching the Bears Film Room, which is the #1 show for the fans by the fans, please just like and subscribe. And if it is your first time, please give a hashtag new face gang in the chat. We'll give you a shout out before the end of the show here coming up. And then also the OGs. I saw already saw a couple of them in there. You know who you are. If you're an OG for the Bears Film Room, again, the #1 show for the fans by the fans, go ahead and give a hashtag OG in the chat real quick. Go ahead and throw them in there. We'll make sure to get to them as I read off our ad reads here. So first off, again, if you're watching tonight live, please just like and subscribe. It's free. It helps the algorithm, just helps the show grow because we're trying to build our community here. That's what we care about. Like I said, I keep saying this ad nauseum, but Dave and I and Jack, DWC as well, we're all fans like you. We enjoy the ups, we enjoy the downs, the pain, the joy, whenever the joy comes, hopefully more this year. But we're with you through the thick and thin of this, and so that's why we're trying to build this community of true diehard fans like y'all. So we appreciate it. So if you actually want to be a part of our community and be even like go deeper into it, you can by joining our Patreon, the BFR Den on Patreon. What do we have on there? We have monthly exclusives, monthly giveaways. I mean, we got our private Zoom calls, mailbag episodes. We got our private Discord in there. We'll be doing some giveaways in there, and then much, much more to come. Not only that, if you join the Discord, you get a shout out. So if you join our Hall of Fame tier, which has the private Zoom call, that's $10 a month. You get the private Zoom call and then everything below, and you get a shout out like these boys here. So shout out to Michael. I saw Gage in the chat. Shout out to Phil. Michael Berry's been in the chat. Shout out to you as well. Thomas Whitty, and then Tito as well. And then if you want to join our lower tier, I saw a couple of y'all in the chat. I know Alex is in there, so give him a shout out. Alex, Chris, Jason, and Caleb. If you want to join our lower tier, it's $3 a month, less than a cup of coffee, and you get all the stuff I mentioned minus the private Zoom monthly Zoom call that we say. Geez, how many times I do this? I feel like I'd have it down by now, but I'm stumbling all over the place. I will say this. We normally do our stuff at the end of the month. So this is just for our Patreon members who are members right now. We won't do something this week because I'll actually be out. So the monthly giveaways, the Zoom call, all that for this month, July, will probably be early August. But what that means for those who aren't in the Patreon, you do have time to actually join now or within the next week or so and be a part of the monthly giveaway, which is a bunch of our merch that we give away every month. If you want to be part of the top tier, Hall of Fame tier, you can get in for our private Zoom call as well, which we normally do on like a Saturday morning. And like I said, you do win merch. Like you just join and you can win free shit. Like you get your money back. And I have to shout out our merch that we have here. If you don't win, but you want to buy merch, you can go to the BFRstore.com. We have new hoodies, hats, mugs, sweatshirts, all that stuff, everything in between if you want to look fly for training camp in the beginning of the NFL season. All proceeds of the store and the Patreon just goes right back into the show or right back into the Patreon, right back into the store so we can keep giving y'all fly shit, better value, more content, and everything in between. So final thing here. Please like and subscribe. Please, it's free. And leave your hashtags in the chat. We'll make sure to give you a shout out before the end of the show. Holy cow, I feel like I just ran a mile there. But we're
yeah.
there.
Let's go ahead and we got a couple OGs in the chat.
Yep,
we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, let's do it. So 1 second here. Let me cue the music real quick. Let's see. We got a couple in here. We'll start it here with Dobbsy. We got Dobbsy34 with the hashtag OG. What's up, Dobbsy? Appreciate it. We got Michael Berry Sr. in here with the hashtag OG. Bear down. We will win the North. F the back. Absolutely. Kyler Villagomez. I saw that you said you were back. I know it's been a minute. Appreciate it, Kyler, with the hashtag OG. And then the OG of the OGs, we got Gage in here. Said hashtag OG. The Bears are back. Yes, they are. The Bears are back. Football's back. No better time to do it. Oh, wait, and one last one. We got Don Murray here as well. Detroit versus everybody. We gotta love. We love them. Appreciate it.
All right. Let's see here. Yeah, I think that is everybody.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you to DWC for hopping on the show. Glad football is back. Bears football will be, I think, the end of the week. This might be the last episode for this week. We're going to be coming back early next week, probably Monday or Tuesday. Obviously, go through all the highlights that we have. And then, of course, just go through the dog days of training camp. We have about a month and a half until, I think, 50-something days, maybe 40-something days now till the regular season, Monday Night Football against the Vikings. So we appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week, probably Monday or Tuesday. Of course, you can check us all our content. Of course, we'll still be tweeting and everything like that. So follow us on socials, follow the pod, and we'll see you early next week. Bear down.
Peace.